The first breath I drew when I stepped into Clover Hill Farm's weathered gambrel barn smelled of sawdust, linseed oil, and rain-soaked hay, a comfortingly tangled perfume that reminded me of childhood craft days. Around me, easels and long tables had been arranged in semicircles, lit by strings of warm Edison bulbs tugged across rafters that still boasted a few lingering swallows' nests. Ivy Carter, retreat coordinator, stood in the center, clapping chalked palms. Welcome, friends. 2 days of nothing but art, cocoa, and country quiet. A small cheer rippled through the 8 attendees. I was there to coax myself beyond my downtown bookshop doodles. My friend Lucas Moreno was here as the weekend's unofficial celebrity. His sprawling community mural on the barn's western wall, a patchwork of home, had become East Bramble's pride. People scheduled selfies in front of it, as though it were the Eiffel Tower. Lucas's presence meant non-stop questions from other artists, but he handled the attention with his usual easy grin. The roster was delightfully mixed. Tessa Bloom, a clay whiz who already had red streaks of slip in her springy curls. Gordon Slate, a stoic retired architect whose sketchpad never strayed farther than his elbow. Brooke Linton, whose gentle watercolors failed to hide a fierce competitive streak. And Naomi Perez, a photographer who collected found objects and secrets with equal enthusiasm. The final attendee, besides me, was Sam Doyle, a college student intent on documenting the retreat for a film project. Friday afternoon drifted in a haze of introductions, scones, and settling into our workstations. We broke only when Ivy rang the dinner bell she'd strung from the hayloft. The farmhouse meal sang of roasted root vegetables and apple cobbler, and afterward the storm rolled in, thick slate clouds rumbling like old dogs stretching. By nightfall, wind rattled doors and spat needles of rain through cracks neither tar nor prayer could seal. The barn's communal sleeping loft was warm, its cots aligned beneath patchwork quilts elderly volunteers had sewn. I lay awake, listening to canvases snap against easel legs below, and almost missed the whisper of footsteps on the feed-room stairs. A yellow beam of flashlight licked the rafters. I sat up, heart lightly drumming, but sleep returned before curiosity did. Morning broke to the crisp smell of wet earth. I shuffled toward the coffee urn, mug in hand, when Sam's frantic shout sliced the barn's hush. "The mural!" he cried, camera bouncing against his chest as he sprinted for the outer doors. Chairs scraped, brushes toppled. We poured outside into the russet dawn. The sight wrenched a collective gasp. Across Lucas's painstaking tableau, fields of indigo flax flanking golden wheat, children arc-swinging from willow branches, someone had slashed wide strokes of garish red. Letters, crude and furious, screamed across the center. Copycat. Paint still dripped like falling teardrops. Lucas wasn't beside us. Ivy's voice tremored. "Where's Lucas?" We searched the barn, then the main farmhouse. His bed remained neatly made, his half-finished pallet dried on his stool. The storm's sodden silence pressed around us. Lucas Moreno had vanished. Cozy retreats are not designed for crises. Yet Ivy, cheeks pale beneath freckles, rallied, calling Sheriff Nettles. The sheriff, as stooped and soft-spoken as a grandmotherly librarian, promised to arrive after he finished refereeing the farmers' market parking dispute. Until then, we were gently instructed to remain on property and not meddle. The instruction fluttered past me like an ignored receipt. My store survives on nosiness. Matching patrons to perfect novels requires subtle sleuthing, so my curiosity already thrummed. I refilled my travel mug, pulled my cardigan tighter, and began noting the morning's off-key notes. First, the red paint. I knelt at the base of the vandalized wall. Beside a clump of wet grass sat an empty quart tin labelled Crimson Tide No. 37. I recognized the brand. Brooke favoured it for her sunset washes. A muddy bootprint bruised the earth nearby, the tread composed of tiny herringbones. I mentally ran through our footwear. Only one of us wore such architectural soles. Gordon Slate, the retired architect. Second, motive. The word copycat hinted at artistic grievance. Had someone believed Lucas had stolen an idea? If so, who, and why now? I found Naomi in the loft, coiling camera cords. Her dark eyes flitted towards the staircase every few seconds. "Could you still smell the paint?" she asked before I spoke. It was so sharp it woke me. "You were awake during the night, taking long exposure shots. The storm was gorgeous." She hugged her knees. "I saw a figure down by the mural around midnight. Yellow slicker, hood up. I thought it was Ivy checking tarps." Ivy owned a butter-yellow raincoat, true, but something in Naomi's voice suggested uncertainty. Downstairs, Gordon hunched over a drafting table, mechanical pencil twitching. I asked if he'd seen Lucas. Gordon didn't look up. "No, can't say I have. Vandalism's a shame." His boots, herringbone soles smeared with drying mud, rested on a drop cloth. A dab of crimson shone on the right heel. I blinked, and it was gone. Gordon's foot shifted, tucking the stain beneath his cuff. Brooke stood several easels away, mixing purples. Her face was blotchy from crying. "He's my friend," she murmured when I offered tissues. "We collaborated on a children's centre mural last year. Who'd do this?" I recalled rumours that Brooke had submitted her own mural proposal to the town council last spring, only to lose to Lucas's patchwork. Could friendship harbour resentment? Before I could probe, Ivy announced Sheriff Nettles's arrival. The sheriff gathered us amid straw bales like a reluctant camp counsellor. She listened, nodding, then requested to see our sleeping areas. A quick inventory revealed Lucas's duffel missing, but his phone remained charging near the cot. No recent calls. The sheriff eyed the barn's lofts, wrote notes, and declared she'd organise a search party after checking local hospitals. Maybe Mr. Moreno wandered in the storm and injured himself. Still, she allowed we might continue working, so long as we avoided the mural area. Tea and creativity, she opined, soothe frazzled nerves. The sheriff hadn't met my nerves. They did their best, thinking caffeinated and occupied. I cozied up in a corner with my sketchbook, yet watched activity under my bangs. Tessa needed clay, but flinched every time a door banged. Brooke washed brushes in overly vigorous circles. Gordon, improbably, was now repainting a tiny watercolour barn. "Architectural study," he grunted when I drifted close. Only Sam appeared energised, capturing B-roll of anguished faces. Lunch arrived, thermoses of potato soup, and with it new tension. Naomi discovered her memory cards missing from her equipment bag. "All my storm shots gone," she wailed. Theft stacked atop vandalism, and disappearance felt deliberate, escalating. Sheriff Nettles frowned. "One thing at a time, Ms. Perez." Afternoon waned. A chill settled, herding us towards the fireplace at the barn's far end. Ivy served mulled cider, its cinnamon steam curling into tense silence. I kept replaying midnight footsteps, the yellow slicker, Gordon's mud-stained heel, copycat. If the motive was plagiarism, who accused whom? I hunted Lucas's sketchbook, hoping for a clue. His workstation overflowed with thumbnail drawings. Among them, I uncovered a rolled blueprint labelled Bramble Public Library Renovation, Vision Draft. At first glance, it looked like purely architectural renderings, but Lucas had added vibrant civic scenes along the margins, blending art with engineering. Scribbled on a sticky note, "Show Gordon tonight, get feedback." My breath caught. Gordon, the architect, had just retired after losing that exact library commission to a big city firm. He'd joked over dinner how the town no longer valued straight lines. A theory surfaced. Gordon saw Lucas's imaginative library draft, felt his professional territory encroached upon, and struck back, vandalizing the mural, scrawling copycat. The stolen memory cards? Perhaps they contained photos of the culprit at work. If Lucas confronted Gordon, something might have gone terribly wrong. I needed proof, not soupçon. Twilight turned barns amber. I pocketed my phone flashlight and ascended the back staircase to the hayloft Gordon used as daytime office. Dust twirled through sun slats. Floorboards creaked like disgruntled cats. Against the north wall sat Gordon's toolbox. Crimson paint flecked its latch. Inside, hammers, pliers, a bald rag soaked red. My pulse hiccuped. Footsteps below. I snapped the lid shut, slid behind hay bales. Gordon climbed up, muttering. He opened the toolbox, paused, then bent to a floorboard I hadn't noticed was loose. He pried it, revealing a narrow cavity. From it he removed a memory card and a small jug of Crimson Tide, number 37. I fought the urge to sneeze. Then came a sound neither of us expected, a muffled thud from beyond the loft wall. Gordon froze, listening. Another thud, accompanied by a groan. The hayloft adjoined an old grain storage room, its door nailed years ago for safety. Gordon grasped a crowbar. I stepped out. "Looking for something?" He jolted. Colour drained from his face faster than turpentine through tissue. "What are you doing up here, Ms. Reed?" "Following the lousy smell of guilt." I pointed to the grain room. "Someone's in there." We approached. The door's hinges whimpered as Gordon levered nails free. It swung inward, revealing Lucas, dishevelled, wrists bound by rope, gag crumpled at his feet, eyes blazing with relief and fury. He was alive. Sheriff Nettles arrived in record time after my greenhouse quiet but urgent call. Lucas, now sipping water, recounted he'd caught Gordon defacing the mural near 1 a.m. When confronted, Gordon panicked. An argument turned scuffle. Gordon tied Lucas, stashed him in the grain room, then snatched Naomi's memory cards to erase proof. The duffel bag, tossed under Lucas's cot to fake departure. Gordon, slumped in a ladder-back chair, managed only a rasped confession. "He was stealing my career," he murmured. "An artist muscling into architecture, my last domain. He didn't even see it." His gaze drifted to the blueprint. Everyone called him genius. Lucas lifted bruised palms. "Gordon, I wanted collaboration. My notes said, ask Gordon to co-design." The barn inhaled a humbled silence. Sheriff Nettles escorted Gordon outside, patrol lights staining hay golden red. The crisis quelled. Ivy suggested we gather for cocoa while statements were finalized. Rain resumed, gentler, drumming the roof like distant applause. Lucas dragged a stool toward the injured mural, studying the hateful streaks. "We can save it," he declared. Brooke touched his shoulder. "But retreat ends tomorrow. Then we'll work tonight." Naomi fetched floodlights while Sam set his camera. Memory cards returned. Tessa hauled buckets of soapy water. Ivy produced extra brushes. Even the sheriff, paperwork done, rolled up her sleeves for rinsing duty. Under yellow bulbs, we became an impromptu repair crew. Lucas guided, dissolve fresh crimson with solvent, feather edges, repaint sky gradient. Brooke mixed hues. I traced wheat stalks. Naomi documented every laugh, every collective hush of concentration. Over hours, the word copycat disappeared beneath golden dawn clouds. By 3 a.m., we stepped back, muscles trembling, cheeks smeared with ochre. Lucas signed the corner anew but turned the brush to me. "Add yours," he insisted. I hesitated. My contribution was minuscule. Yet I signed along with each helper, including Sheriff Nettles, who penned her initials with surprising calligraphy. When sun splashed over the hills, it found the mural radiant once more, now bearing proof of communal resilience. Ivy rang her bell, this time not for meals but celebration. We slept a few hours, then reconvened for Sunday brunch. Cinnamon rolls steamed beside bowls of fruit. Conversation circled but no longer spiraled into panic. Lucas announced he would still pursue the library concept, with Gordon's blessing if the man chose to participate after legal matters resolved. Perhaps community service might involve architectural mentoring. As we packed easels that afternoon, Ivy slipped an envelope into my hand. Inside lay a gift certificate to a local art supply shop. For services detective and decorative, she smiled. Driving home, windows cracked to autumn breeze, I replayed the retreat's crescendos. Cozy though it began, the weekend had stretched me beyond colour wheels and comfortable routines. Friendships had been tested like wet clay on a wheel, distorted, collapsed, and then reshaped stronger. Back at my bookstore, I propped a print of the restored mural on the counter. Customers asked about the new signature, E. Reed, among the wheat stalks. I told them art, like a good mystery, is best when many hands and hearts weave the final picture.